If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be, in that rich earth, a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home. And think, this heart, all evil, shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind, no less, gives somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds, dreams happy as a day, and laughter, learnt of friends and gentleness, in hearts at peace, under an English heaven.
Shit. Monday, happy days. Wednesday, happy days. It's just one of those happy days. The weekend comes, let's not go home. It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up. Everything is everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet.
Knock it off, you scum bucket.
It's just one of those. Just one of those happy days. It's just one of those happy days. It's just one of those days. Feeling like a freight train. First one to complain. Leaves with the bloodstain. Damn right, I'm a maniac. You better shoot, cause I'm fucking up your program. And if you're stuck up, you just locked up. Next in line to get fucked up. Your best bet is to stay away, motherfucker. It's just
I'm losing my cool.
it's all about the happy days. It's just one of those happy days. It's just one of those happy days. The weekend comes, let's not go home. Ready to make
Feel like shit. My suggestion is to keep your distance.
right now I'm dangerous. Right now I'm dangerous.
Something's happening to the bonds.
My day keeps going this way and this way.
I'm gonna pop you one so you'll stop playing games.
Give me something great. Give me something great. I hope you know I pack a chainsaw. A chainsaw. A motherfucking chainsaw.
What?
So come and get it.
What we got here is a case of mistaken identity, you know? See, now this here,
Not Robert.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chief Moody, and welcome to episode 121 of the Mood of the Nation podcast. Did you all miss me? Yes, I can explain why there was not any episodes for the past couple of days, or maybe was it 3 days or so? Because I know I was supposed to be live last night, but I couldn't because of prior commitments with my work. So yes, that's basically like a short update with that. So the last episode I did prior to like a short break, even though it wasn't supposed to be a break, the last episode was on the 31st of October, which of course would be the Halloween episode. So the reason why I was gone was because I was busy with work at the moment, due to the fact that, of course, we're now in November, and of course, Christmas is just around the corner. It's at that period now where obviously the Christmas season is more of a major focus on at work at the moment. So I've been really busy with that. That's why there hasn't been any episodes since the 31st of October. But I think it should be fine now. There's no any issues or anything like that at all. I mean, still relatively busy, but not to the point where it's going to stop me from producing more episodes of Mood of the Nation. So here I am. Yes, it's not a Thursday, but it's a Friday episode, which will be the only episode which will be for Friday. And then hopefully next week it will be back to normal as per usual. But we'll see with that. We'll definitely shall see. With that being said, I definitely will be back for Sunday as well, because now I'm going to be off on Sunday now for a special Remembrance Day episode. And even also on that day, I'm not entirely too sure if the stream will be at 5 p.m. Maybe I might start a bit later on than usual. But again, we'll definitely wait and see with that. But it's definitely happening on Sunday. And I'll give you guys an update on when that stream for Sunday will be live then. And speaking of which, I've got all of the platforms on the screen here. So, yeah, there we go. Well, speaking of Remembrance Day, today is officially actually Remembrance Day, the 11th of November. So now today's episode, of course, is not going to be focusing mainly on that. I'm going to wait until Sunday, of course, as I said, the official Remembrance Day 2022 episode. But for now, since it's technically the 11th of November, obviously today would be Remembrance Day, but of course people normally do Remembrance Day on a Sunday, but or just thought I would make that point real clear about that. Now, what I also want to do is, if you guys, of course, wouldn't mind me doing so, is I want to do like a 1 minute silence just for this part just now. Again, just so that's it's done regarding to that. Because I did something like that earlier on at I think it was 11 o'clock this morning, of course, doing the whole minute silence type of thing. So let me just check my timer at the moment. And let me see if I see you're holding a minute. Let's see if I can then right. Maybe there should be a section here. Sorry, I should have maybe checked this before the show started. But anyway, while I'm looking this up, I hope everyone is actually doing very well. And then Remembrance Day is every day. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that, Steve Shaw, as regard to remembering the lost during the wartime. Right. This will be quite useful. Perfect. Okay, so for this part, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to do like a minute silence for this part of the show. And then once we've done that, we'll then move on to, of course, something else. So again, this is just to remember those that have fallen during wartime, especially being, I think it's the 104th anniversary of the First World War, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I'm just going to do this right now. Just 1 minute silence, and then we'll move on to something else. So I'll just start the clock just now, or the timer. So 3, 2, 1. Go dismiss that. There we are. Let me see. Yep. So there we go. That's that. So I know that I know some people might think, well, this is maybe a bit of a serious type of start of the show, but again, it's all to do with like the part of like respecting people who have who've died during wartime type of thing. So of course, being Remembrance Day and with that. So Frozen? No, it's not. It's not Frozen. It's just like a minute silence type of thing. So, but anyway, that's that done. So, I think with that, I think it should be working okay. I've noticed there's kind of a not like internet problem, but it's been kind of up and down with internet. But again, I don't know if it's maybe an issue or anything with that at all. But if there is something up with it, again, just let me know in the chat, and I'll see if I can get that sorted out. Just hope it doesn't affect the show too much. Sorry, yes, mate. I just came in from outside. No worries, it's completely fine. Must be to do with that, but I think it should be fine now. But again, any issues or anything with that at all, I'll see if I can get that sorted out at the moment here. Anyway, so what's been happening, guys? So as I just said, I've been busy with work, but I think now it should be all fine and dandy. No any other issues with that whatsoever. So now, I know with the title of today's episode. Now, I'm going to be doing the episode round about up until 7, maybe a bit earlier than that, and then there should be other streams going on later on, but we'll definitely see with that. Let me have a look and see who's in the chat just now, because I think there's, again, a lot of familiar faces as per usual. We have Steve Shaw's in the chat. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. We have October. Thanks very much for watching Mood of the Nation. We have Kermit O. Shalom going. Oh, shalom to you too, Kermit. Thank you very much. We also have English Rose in the chat. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation as per usual. Hasdak, thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Exile Viking, thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Twinkle Toes Today, thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Canny Henny, thanks very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Inshallah Streaky Bacon, thanks very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Illuminatus, thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Let me see. I think there was a comment. Joe Marsh, like. How you doing, Joe? Thanks very much for watching. And yes, I agree. No more brother wars. I agree with that statement very much. So thank you very much for pointing that out. Was there a comment from? Oh yeah, from XL Viking. Hold on a minute. Just spend the afternoon with John Davidson. Oh, good. You met John Davidson. Speaking of John Davidson, I think he's going to be live tonight at maybe 8 or 9 p.m. I'm not entirely too sure, but he is live, of course, later on. So I definitely would check him out later on, of course. So anyway, it just spent the afternoon with John Davidson at the War Memorial, followed by a civilized cup of tea and chit chat. And he has a budgie which emulates human voices, which was quite eerie at first. Well, that's pretty cool. But no, it's nice to see that you met John Davidson in person. I think it would be nice to meet John Davidson in person one day. So, but again, hopefully that will be one day, of course. Hopefully one day. Anyway, but thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. The Saint lives. I'm assuming that's Saint Harrison. Oh, thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Appreciate you being here. And we also have Martin W. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation as usual. So 22 people watching the show already, which is good to see. Hopefully more people will come along. But again, that's still pretty good, a decent number anyway. So especially for first time back after, what was it, a week or something like that? But well, yeah, maybe like a week or so. But anyway, so tonight I'm going to be talking about PragerU, or at least doing like a response type of stream with a PragerU video I saw earlier today. But before I do that, I want to really cover something else entirely before I get on to the main topic, or the main event, if you want to call it that. I want to briefly talk about the midterm elections that happened in America. Now, I keep seeing multiple times from people, especially people on the right or the conservative types or conservative Inc., whatever you want to call them. I keep hearing from those people like this is the time of like the next big red wave type of thing. But from what we've seen as of late, and I don't know if this has changed since then, but it seems at the moment it's quite maybe split, but it's more Democrat rather than Republican. Hold on a sec. It is indeed my second channel got nuked for NAZ themed horror film. I see. Right. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. But it's nice to see you in the chat, Harrison. It's very nice to see you in the chat. I would have been in Weatherspoons if I didn't have to get up early. Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough. That's fine. Right. So, but yeah. So the midterm elections happened, and it seems it's pretty. I don't know if this is meant to be like state per state, but it seemed to be a lot more Democrat rather than Republican. Basically, it's not really the big red wave as we keep hearing about. Now, there's a lot of points pointing out from people like that as to why there was never another red wave. And I have maybe a couple of theories behind that. Well, the one major theory I have in this case is probably what's happening here in the UK as well. Is, of course, the whole indoctrination aspect of it in terms of, say, the education system. Because what I have heard from the midterm elections recently was that a lot of people from the Zoomer generation, a lot of, say, I think, like the Zoomer types who are maybe 18 or so over, that type of a crowd, seem to be that a lot of those people are actually voting more Democrat rather than Republican, which of course is pretty interesting. Because I've always keep hearing from a lot of these conservative types, that they keep seeing that the Zoomers are going to be the next conservatives or the next generation of conservatism. But from what we've seen, that's not really the case whatsoever. And I think partly, well, again, as I said, two theories. So I've mentioned the first theory, which is, of course, indoctrination within the education system, especially in America, where there's a lot of anti-whiteism involved in the education system, especially going on here in the UK. But I don't know what would be worse if it was in America or Britain, but again, it's still relatively bad, so that might play a factor into it. But another major theory I have with the midterm elections, and again, this is just my theory when it comes to it, is when it comes to the current Republican establishment, or at least in this case, the modern conservative establishment, it seems to me that a lot of people are just fed up with it because there's nothing remotely conservative about them whatsoever. It seems to me that, and I'm also seeing stuff like this in the chat as well, that the current Republican establishment are seem to be more busy. Hold on, I don't know if I'm actually frozen. Oh no, it seems to be fine now. Sorry. It seems to me that the Republicans seem to be more busy with trying to be like the Democrats, but claiming not to be like the Democrats, if you know what I mean. So basically, they're too busy trying to advocate for like non-white groups, LGBT types and all of that. Which, I mean, again, it just further cements the idea of there's nothing conservative about them whatsoever. And I think a lot of people are just absolutely just sick to the back teeth of it whatsoever. They want something that's entirely different than both Democrat and Republicans. At this point in time, as we all know, that the Republicans and the Democrats are basically two sides of the same coin, or two cheeks of the same arse, like the other expression I've been hearing recently. There's really relatively nothing different about them whatsoever. Both political parties in America seem to be having strings attached to them, and it's all being held by a particular puppet master. And I think we all know what that puppet master might be, of course, with that. So, but yeah, that's in terms of the midterm elections. There is one thing also to add on to that. There's this gentleman from the Democrat side that the conservative types, again, I use that term loosely regarding to the actual conservatives, but one party system always had and always will be. Yeah, that's fair. It has to be fixed over there. There's no way even the thick Americans would vote for that. Cena or Get and his band of freaks. I mean, yeah, I think it's something that definitely needs to be done with that, because it's been 2 years now with the current Biden administration. I mean, you think that what's going on in America with the Biden administration, you think that maybe that people would just wake up to it and just be like, you know what, I don't want Biden in the office for a second term. Like they would rather have someone other than Biden, whether it be, I mean, Trump again, or maybe is it DeSantis is another candidate running for the presidential election for 2024. Don't know if I'm correct in saying that, but yeah, it's I mean, you think people would wake up to it, but apparently that's not really the case whatsoever in some of these states, especially, I mean, California is like a major Democrat state. I mean, that's really a no-brainer. I think it's other states like Illinois is very Democratic or very liberal. Like New York, of course, no real surprise there. But there's places like Arizona, which again, I keep hearing about how that's going to have the next big red wave, but of course that was never to be the case whatsoever. So it's really, I don't want to say at the moment it's worrying, but it does paint a major picture of what's exactly going on in America just now, which, I mean, it's shocking, really is shocking to say the least. Financial democracy. Let me see. It would be amazing to see. Oh, sorry, I'm just reading comment from Streaky Bacon. It would be amazing to see white Americans swapped with immigrants in Europe, to see a strong indigenous Europe as the US becomes Africa. Yeah, now I can see where we're coming from with that, of course. Indeed. Positively turning in me grave, Streaky, right? Common law do not consent to corporation corruption. Yeah, indeed. There was actually one thing. Well, I might go back to another point in a short second, but there was something that kind of. And I don't want to come off as if like there's some kind of conspiracy theory or like going on with the midterm elections, how there's like voter fraud or anything like that at all. Bill Laughing, good evening to you too, sir. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. It's only midterm elections, but it'll show the mood of the election or the electorate. That's true. Yeah, it definitely will show that. But I mean, again, we've seen this will happen with back in 2016. I don't want to make it as if like it's going to be 2016 all over again. Like we've seen something similar happen like that in 2016, and I think maybe it was 2020. With the midterm elections leading up to those elections, where it was actually it seemed to be gearing up for like a certain side, but then when the election came around, it was a complete 180, and everyone was like, "Wait, what? What's going on here?" So I don't know whether or not if that might happen for the 2024 election, but I mean, again, you never know. Like something can happen, but I mean, at this point in time, I really have no faith in both the Democrat or Republican side because, again, like I said before, both parties in America are basically two sides of the same coin at this point, and there is a particular group of people that are holding up the strings as the puppet masters regarding to the both political parties in America. Now, there is one thing I also want to mention as well. There's a certain person that's been like the face of the Democrats at the moment, and is it Fetterman or something like that? It's like FITTER men or something to that effect. I'm not entirely too sure, but what I think is rather concerning for me regarding to this midterm election is you see a lot of these like conservative types that are making like memes and all of that, like mocking them and all of that, wanting to make T-shirts out of them and all of this, and it's like, guys, is this really the only thing that you really give a fuck about? Like Fairman, yeah, that's the name. Yeah, thank you, October. It's like, is that really the only thing that you all seem to give a fuck about? Where like all the shit is happening in America, and I mean, and everything is going to shit basically in America just now. And the only thing that you all seem to care about is trying to make memes out of Fetterman, like making T-shirts and merchandise just so you can make more fucking shekels. Jesus Christ! I mean, it really just goes to show you the priority set with the current Republican/conservative movement in America. And again, there's really absolutely nothing conservative about them whatsoever, like I said. Streaky Bacon again, Chief Media, America is broken badly. The country will balkanize, but I hope Whitey gets to keep the nukes. We'll see. We'll definitely see with that. I definitely do agree there should be a major change coming in America. And I do hope that is the case with regard to that. Uncle Festerman, aka Fetterman from Ragnar Iron Spear. How you doing, sir? Thank you very much. Fetterman had a stroke, but Bill Clinton had a really good feel. Oh, Jesus Christ, Streaky Bacon. Streaky Bacon. That's I don't know if that's entirely appropriate for this show. This is supposed to be a wholesome, family-friendly show. Well, okay, it's not, but you know what I mean. Like, let's. Like, I mean, I'm all for jokes, but yeah, like, let's. Anyway, let's move on from that in this case. So that's the midterm election. So it definitely does paint a picture for the upcoming 2024 election. But again, you never know. Something might happen with the midterm election. The actual election coming in 2024. It might be a complete 180, just like with the 2016 election, and also you could say the 2020 election. But again, we don't know with that. So just need to wait and see with that in this case. Definitely need to wait and see with that. Now then, let's move right into the main event of tonight. And then, of course, not entirely too sure what I'll be talking after that. But in the meantime, I'll be doing a response part of the stream to a fellow Jewish content creator by the name of Dennis Prager, who is the you could say that the main head or the main face of PragerU. Now, this was a video that came out, I think, maybe yesterday or earlier today, but maybe a different time in America. But I saw this earlier on, and I was like, yes, I'm going to do a response video for that. If it wasn't going to be sorry, excuse me, if it wasn't going to be a Remembrance Day type of episode tonight, then I will definitely have a look into this particular video. Chief, look at the ballot harvesting and miscounts already. You know, I'll just mention this point real quick, and then I'll move on to the main topic here. And it was actually something I was going to bring up earlier on, but again, all the other thoughts are going on in my mind. But there was one thing that I thought, all right, this is, I don't want to come off as if like there's kind of voting fraud going on or maybe some kind of conspiracy theory. But with that being said, there was a video I saw on, I think it was Twitter or Telegram. I'm not entirely too sure, but there was a particular video I watched where it was during the midterm elections and people were getting ready to go out and vote and all of that. There were queues and lines going on, and I'm not entirely too sure which state this was, whether it be in Arizona or I don't think California, because again, you're very Democrat type of state, or any other state in America, or maybe like Idaho, or maybe I don't know, somewhere in America. But there was a guy who was a part of the establishment where the voting booths would be, and he gave this announcement basically saying, "Oh, we're just to let everyone know, and we apologize in advance, but some of the machines are not working at the moment, but we're trying everything we can to get them up and running as soon as we possibly can." And at that point, I was like, that's again, I don't want to come off as a far right conspiracy theory, but I just think it's rather bizarre that, and the timing of it all was quite bizarre, that this was the day of the midterm elections, and of course, people were going to be going out and voting and all of that. And then all of a sudden, on that day, the machines are not working at the moment. And as Rider Iron Spirit even pointed out in the chat, to have me look into the ballot harvesting and miscounts already, I think, again, I don't want to come off as a conspiracy theory, but I think it's rather far too convenient or too much of a coincidence that of the day of the midterm elections, and yet all this stuff is happening at the same time. Really makes you think, doesn't it? Really makes you think. But again, I'm not gonna come off as like a far right conspiracy theory, but it really makes you think, doesn't it? Really makes you think. So let me see if I can get my notes up here, and then I'll get the link for the video, and then we'll get right into it. California, yep, California indeed. I mean, who the hell would be living in California at this full-on cesspool of a state at this point? Absolutely, just, I was gonna say bizarre, but it's depressing to live in California. Oh, let me see. And there is a up there, so I'm gonna see if I can get to a certain point, because I'm on the official. There we go. The official PragerU website. Now, the video in question I saw this on was on YouTube, but funnily enough, when the points being brought up in this video about when he was asked questions such as he does answer those questions in this video, but you can only find those answers or the points he makes about those questions if you go on to the official PragerU website. Which is quite funny, because if you actually go on to the YouTube page where the video is uploaded as well, you can see that the like and dislike ratio is very mixed. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, how would you figure that out? I have a add-on, I think, on what page am I using? I think it's Opera. Yeah, I managed to find a dislike add-on on my Opera web browser, and that way, once I'm on YouTube using Opera, I can then check the like and dislike ratio. Now, if I have a look at the YouTube and showcase the like and dislike ratio there, we can see that it is, again, majority like, but there's also quite a lot of dislikes with the video, and I'll see if I can find that for you guys really quick. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find. Oh, just passed it. There we go. Fireside Chat, episode 263. Is your race your identity? Let's have a look at this right now. Now, again, I'm not going to play the video here because, like I said, we're mainly focusing on the actual video on the PragerU website. Now, it should showcase the dislike ratio, but it's kind of changed actually. Wait a minute. See if I can sort that out here. But it's interesting with the like and dislike ratio on YouTube. If I can show it here at the moment. Right, why is it not showing it here? Wait a minute. Right, let me see if I can. Sorry, guys. It did show it earlier on. I don't know why it's not showing it here at the moment. Let me see. Yep, it should be working. Is it working? Yeah, let me see. Color it. No, I don't want to do that. I don't know why it's not coming up here. Well, that's a bit bizarre. Well, what I will see is with the video on YouTube, at the moment what I'm seeing, well, actually no, because it's entirely for the last time I saw it, but sorry, bear with me just a minute here. I don't know what's going on with the like and dislike ratio. Hold on a minute, because it should be able to actually show me it, but here we go. Right, so currently speaking, at the time of this show being live, the video that I'm going to be responding to on YouTube has 530 likes. Compare that to 317 dislikes, which I think is really tells you something, doesn't it? It really tells you something with that video. Let me see here. ADL Productions present Prager propaganda. Yeah, or PragerU propaganda. Yep. Small Hats started Hollywood by fleeing to California with a stolen knowledge of how to make films from Whitey in New York. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's a how's that? It's a coincidence. Oh dear. Right. Anyway, let's get into the video in question here. So let me see if I can share the screen for you guys real quick. Now, I have a feeling that I'm not entirely too sure if this will cover the entirety of the episode tonight, but if it will be, then of course, then so be it. And then of course, for the next episode on Sunday, I'll definitely make that as a Remembrance Sunday type of episode, and then of course see from there. I see 31 people watching the show, which is good to see. Thank you very much for tuning in to tonight's episode of Mood of the Nation. And here am I. I'm going to be responding to Dennis Prager from PragerU about the topic: is your race your identity? And this is, of course, my response to that. So let me see if I can get on here as I'm sharing the screen, and we'll get to the video in question. So let me just full screen that, and then we'll get started. So we'll just start off with, of course, he's just finishing off the point about reverse racism is real. Which I mean, just to answer that real quick, there's no such thing as reverse racism. Like I was gonna say, like racism is just racism, but at this point in time, now me being a nationalist, I can see now that racism is basically code words for anti-white, because you can call non-whites, a black person racist or Asian person racist, but again, as we all know from experience, it doesn't really have as much an effect to calling a white person a racist. Like, because when it comes to the term racism, as I said, it's basically code word for like anti-white. That's exactly what it means here. So it is rather ridiculous that reverse racism is not real regarding to that. So, but anyway, I'll just go on to this part here, and then we'll just get right to it with a response. So 3, 2, just checking the volume with this. Yeah, it should be fine. So 3, 2, 1.
Wait, if you are a young black and impressionable, this gives you a sort of free pass in life. Hey, whites can be evil, but not you, at least insofar as racism is concerned.
Also, sorry, just real quick before I get into it. Now, I think it's important to know about Dennis Prager is that he is Jewish. Now he will talk about this, the fact that the topic is just coming up here. Is your identity your skin color, or is your race your identity, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, I'm just gonna maybe kind of spoil it a little bit here, but like all these other conservative types or conservative ink types or whatever you want to call them, these are the types of person that will definitely tell you, like, oh no, like race is not your identity. It should be the content of your character and all this other gay shit. You know, like I guess almost trying to quote someone like Martin Luther King, which is kind of funny considering that Martin Luther King was viewed as a traitor by the black community, but that's beside the point. Basically making this idea that, oh, we should embrace the idea of individualism and all this and that. But funny enough, he will mention his Jewishness and all of that, which of course we'll get into in just a second here. So anyway, just thought I would point that out just real quick, and then we'll get right into the main topic here just now. So we'll just have a look at the video with his takes, and then of course I'll pause it to give my response for it, and then see from there. So 3, 2, 1.
So next, by not allowing yourself to see someone's race, you are not seeing them as a whole person. You are looking at them through a skewed lens. You see them only how you want to see them. You are looking at them through your lens of comfort. You are not seeing your students and their families how they want to and need to be seen. This is the fight against colorblind, the concept of being colorblind, that's wrong. So this is a perfect example of a difference between liberal and left. Liberalism advocates for color blindness, and leftism advocates for being preoccupied with color. So let's analyze this.
Right. I want to pause that just real quick with that, because when it comes to, like, to me, this is just my opinion on this, right? To me, when it comes to the concept matter of race, ethnicity, or anything like that at all, to me, it's neither left wing or right wing. It's just biology. It's a biological reality. Look, at the end of the day, yes, we're all human beings, but there are differences with the races. All right. Now, people like Dennis Prager, which, I mean, I'm just going to say this right now. I also don't think Dennis Prager genuinely believes in this idea. As we'll find out later on, he will bring up his Jewishness, his Jewish heritage, his ethnicity, and all of that. But there is clearly differences between the races within human beings. Like when it comes, see, for animals, for instance, right? I mean, you can have a tiger and a lion. Yes, they're part of the same feline family or same cat family, but they're entirely different species of cats. And sure, you can have them be together and make, I don't know, like a liger or a tie-in, or maybe like a liger would be more sense with that. But again, that liger is going to be biologically fucked, because a tiger and a lion are two completely different species of cats. You know, I'm sorry, but that's just a biological reality with that. So again, regarding to this idea of race and ethnicity, yes, we're all human beings, but there's clearly differences between whites, blacks, Asians, Middle Easterns, and of course Jews. Again, it's just a simple case of biological reality with that, which I know we all want to try and demonize that. Like, oh no, that's racism. It's like again, racism is just anti-white code words, and race is definitely a biological reality. And I honestly do believe that it does. It's not like the main factor, but is a major factor of a person's like ethnicity, like culture, history, so on and so forth. So, but anyway, we'll just continue on from there with that, and then see from there.
By not allowing yourself to see someone's race, you are not seeing them as a whole person. Let me put it to you the opposite way. By concentrating on a person's race, you are not seeing them as a whole person. Are you your race? You watching me now, if you're black, is that the primary constituent of your character and life and meaning, your blackness?
Well, I mean, of course, obviously, I'm not black myself, but I would imagine, say, like any black person watching this, well, more specifically, like the BLM types and all of that, or even people who are more like black people who are more into the like rap culture and all of that, they can make an argument that that blackness is ingrained in their own identity. Again, just look at Black Lives Matter, for instance. I mean, say what you want about how it's a complete communist, like fraudulent, like organization, and they're all just do it for the money. But there are genuine black people who do support the idea of Black Lives Matter, and that blackness is ingrained into their own identity. So again, this entire idea that, oh well, they should look at themselves as individuals. Well, I mean, look, we've tried that, but again, it just doesn't really fucking work. I mean, it's the same thing. What again, I hate to mention like Sargon and all these other Sipnats, but again, it's true. These people, to coin the phrase from Mark Collett, these people can cope all they want about how we must be individuals and we need to have a copy of Locke and then give them an American flag or British flag and support the concept of Britishness or an Americanness or anything like that at all. But at the end of the day, you'll never change that. Every single racial group that you know and I know have an in-group preference. It's just, again, it's just biological reality. That might be like a saying I might say throughout this entire show, but it's true. Every single racial group has an in-group preference. It's just part of our human nature. We're tribalistic in nature, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly natural to be with your own kin. There might be a bit of like curiosity. See if you were to go to Japan, for instance, of course, Japan being like a Japanese majority or homogenous society, if you were like a non-Japanese going over to Japan, sure, they'll be maybe friendly towards you and all of that, but and maybe there'll be some kind of curiosity, or maybe they'll just outright ignore you, because and not to be like rude or anything like that at all, but it's probably because they just don't want to deal with foreigners, because again, it's that whole racial like identity aspect of it. Again, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just, again, as I said before, it's just a biological reality. So,
I suspect not. I suspect not for any number of reasons. First, because it isn't true for almost anybody, except for true racists. Is being white for a white their primary identity or even large identity?
well, again, as I said before, it's not like a major factor, but it is part of the identity when it comes to here in Britain, or at least the four tribes: Scottish, English, Welsh, and Irish. Whiteness does play a factor when it comes to being Scottish or English. Again, because it's not just to do with race; it's just to do with culture and to do with the history. Now, it's kind of funny with Dennis making the point here about like whiteness, or at least is a white person's identity like whiteness and all that, what he just said, which is kind of funny because it's the only racial group that we know that are being advised not to be a collective and not to embrace their whiteness, but to be individuals, is all white people that have been taught to this. They've all been brainwashed into thinking that white people are not allowed to be collectivized. You should be a group of individuals. Now, they did try this with the other racial groups like blacks and Asians and so on and so forth, but as we've seen time and time again, teaching the concept of individualism to blacks and the other non-whites doesn't entirely work, does it? I mean, again, we've seen that with Black Lives Matter, or any other Asian country for that matter, being Japan or Korea or anywhere like that at all. But as I said, the only racial group that have been brainwashed or programmed to believe in the concept of individuality and how we're all one race, the human race, is white people. But anyway, so we're just moving on from there.
When a black looks into a mirror, say your name is Jim, and you're black, and you look in the mirror when you wake up in the morning, do you see a black man or do you see Jim?
Well, I mean, again, just part of reality. Like, if I were to like meet a black person, like, of course, like one day, it could be any context with it whatsoever. But the major thing that I'm going to notice with that is the fact that he's black. And again, nothing entirely wrong with that. It's just stating a fact. Like, I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, yeah, that indeed is a black man. Now, people watching my show just now can clearly see me that I'm clearly a white man. You know, I mean, you kind of see from the skin color and all of that. But when you if you never met me before or don't know me, if you were to meet me one time or maybe see me walking down the street, you would the first thing you'll notice is, in fact, that I am indeed a white man. That it's very factual with that in this case. And again, there's nothing wrong with pointing that out. It's just part of biological reality. Again, my apologies if I sound like I'm repeating myself here, but it's just true. It's absolutely 100% true with that. And there's nothing wrong with pointing that out either. Again, it's just part of the whole tribalistic nature, or at least part of like human nature type of thing with meeting different races and all of that. There was one other point I was going to make, but I forgot what I was going to say. But it might come back to me. But if I do remember it, I'll pause it again, and then I'll talk about it. But again, while I wait for that, we'll just continue on from there with Dennis Prager's other points he's making about racial identity. Oh, actually, yeah. So there was actually one thing. Look, when it comes to this idea of like identity politics, I guess some of these subnets would want to call it. Because I remember back in the day with the whole debates between Sargon and Spencer or Andrew Anglin or anyone like that at all, they always bring up in terms the subnet types always bring up the idea of identity politics is bad. Like you should never identify someone based on their like skin color or ethnicity or anything like that at all. Look, when it comes to everyday normalized society, everyone goes through identity politics every single time, or even just simply identity as a whole. It doesn't have to be political. Like we describe each other as he, she, white, black, tall, short, skinny, fat, you name it. All of that, whether these people, there I go say it again, these people, whether they like this or not, whether they agree with it or not, every single one of us goes through identity politics every single day. Like it's just part of society. You know, again, they could try and quote all they want about, but we're all one race. You'll never change that. All right, you will never ever change that. Especially, you could try and condemn identity politics as much as you want, but identity politics, or even just simply again identity as a whole, is ingrained in our subconscious every single time. It's just part of human nature, as I said before.
Do I see a white man or do I see Dennis? Never occurs to me that I see a white man. I see Dennis. In fact, if you want, I have a minority identity too, Jew. I don't look in the mirror and go, look, a Jew.
Right. Again, it's interesting he points this out. So okay, actually, I'll let him finish off this point, and then I'll respond to that part about him with his Jewishness and all of that.
Why not? It's very important to me, my Judaism. Extremely important. Mm-hmm. But when I look in the mirror, that's not what I see. I just see Dennis.
Right. Okay. So you see yourself as Dennis, but your Jewishness is important to you. Right. Okay. So definitely not like a contradiction there whatsoever. So if that's the case, then if you just see yourself as Dennis, but then you don't, but then you still identify yourself as Jewish, then why is it that any other groups, more specifically white people, are not allowed to bring up their whiteness? Really makes you think, doesn't it? And actually, I do remember a particular video, or maybe it was like a clip of a video. I'm not entirely too sure, but and maybe someone in the chat can maybe elaborate this. Well, maybe not elaborate, but maybe point this out even more if they so choose to. Is it true with Dennis Prager that he brings up the Holocaust one time? I think it was maybe like a couple of years back or something like that. This was maybe before COVID or maybe something like that at all. But he was at a convention. I think he was at Politicon. He was having a debate on stage with, I think it was maybe someone from maybe Cenk Uyghur or maybe some other lefty douchebag. I'm not entirely too sure, but he brings up the Holocaust because, again, all these other lefty retards would make up a point about, well, you're basically a Nazi, you're a white supremacist, you're a fascist, and all of that because you go against the status quo, which is liberalism and all of that. To which, of course, Dennis Prager, of course, conveniently will make up a point. Actually, I am not white. I am or a Nazi or fascist. As a matter of fact, my people were affected by the Nazi regime during the Second World War, and of course, brings up the Holocaust, how his grandparents or like parts of his family were victims of the Holocaust and all of that. Which, I mean, look, again, going back to what we were saying before, if race is not part of your identity, but it's superficial, if that, we'll come into that much later on. If that really is the case, then why is it still important of your Jewishness? Because again, that just really comes off to me as if like it's almost like rules for thee but not for thee type of thing. Oh, it's okay for us to embrace our identity, but all the other racial groups, especially white people, no, you can't exactly do that. I mean, don't you remember what happened back in World War II? You don't want that to happen again, do you? Like, it's just fucking bullshit. Anyway, I'll continue on from actually. Before I do, I'm just gonna get my water bottle because my throat is a little bit parched. I should have maybe brought that up later on or earlier on. If you guys can bear with me just now, I'll be back in a couple of moments here. One sec. How's my phone doing? It's maybe charging up just now, but sorry, hold on, folks. 1 second. Resisting the lines. You're now live on YouTube. That's fine. No any major notifications. That's fine and dandy whatsoever. Just get my water bottle. The time's it now, actually. 6:20, right? Okay, that's fine. So it looks like, I actually can't believe it's that time already. Holy fuck! But it looks like, folks, we might be doing this the majority of tonight's episode. I don't know if I managed to finish it entirely for tonight. If I don't, I'll probably maybe finish it off. But see, that's gonna be Remembrance Sunday episode. I'll see what happens with that. Maybe I'll finish it off with like a separate short video for Telegram. So, which by the way, that's a convenient point to make. If you want to follow me on other platforms just now, you can definitely do so through Telegram, Twitter, Gab, you name it. I'm not entirely too sure if I think it's English Rose that will normally put the links in the chat. If they do that, I would greatly appreciate that, of course. So if you want to follow me in terms of like maybe get some updates for future episodes or anything like that at all, definitely follow me on Telegram and places like that. And also, in terms of other video platforms, I'm also on Odysee. At the moment, I have 229 followers on Odysee just now. So if there's ever a time, it's not a matter of will my YouTube channel get deplatformed. It's more of a case of when will my channel get deplatformed. But if you can, please follow me on Odysee, just in case if my YouTube channel gets nuked one day. No, not entirely too sure when, but if it does happen one day, then definitely follow me on Odysee, because after my YouTube channel gets completely suspended or deplatformed, then I will be streaming on Odysee from now on up until that point. So again, just thought to make that point out there. Before I continue on, I'm gonna have a quick drink of my water bottle, and then we'll continue on from there. So, hold on a minute. Yeah, that's fine. Perfect. All right, perfect. Hope everyone's enjoying the show so far today. If you can, please give the stream a like. It would greatly appreciate you guys doing so. It would help me out with the algorithm and all of that. And also, please share the stream around on other platforms if you're still on maybe Twitter or Telegram or maybe even Gab or whatever platform you're on. I would greatly appreciate you guys doing that. So now that I got that out of the way, I'm going to continue on with this response video with Dennis Prager. So, and then we'll see right to it. So 3, 2, 1.
And that's healthy. That's the ideal. They're being taught, you're being taught, if you were a kid today, very, very sick stuff. This is immoral. This is bad stuff. It's not just wrong, it's bad. To reduce people in any way to their race. Anyway, let's say, so you're black. What do you have in common with another black other than color? Nothing. Nothing.
Well, again, you could talk to members of BLM or even people who are not necessarily support like BLM or anything like that at all. But actually, well, I mean, maybe you could say BLM does tie into it. But I think the best case scenario regarding to like racial identity and all this, which again completely debunks Dennis Prager's point about this. Look what happened to BLM after George Floyd. And even, of course, places, I know that happened in America, but look what happened in places like the UK, the rest of Europe. Hell, even places in Japan and South Korea, for fuck's sake, which, I mean, those two countries would be the last place you would see like a Black Lives Matter activism going on there. Black people who are not in America, tend to actually identify more with George Floyd than they do, like, say, another victim, say, like Chris Donald or anyone like that at all here in the UK. And that's because they identify George Floyd because he's black. Again, race is real. These people can try and cope all they want that there's no such thing as race and we're all one race, the human race, but race does play a factor into our identity. Identity politics is ingrained in our subconscious every single time. And what was the other point he was going? If I'll continue on from there, and then we'll see from. Oh no, yeah. I just also mentioned the point here how what seemed to be the commonality between blacks. Well, I guess the one thing would be is the fact that they're black. Now, would there be maybe subtle differences in terms of maybe like ethnicity, especially in places like, well, in the continent of Africa, countries like Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria, you name it. Sure, there may be some subtle differences between like the ethnicities, but again, the one commonality is, of course, their race, and that's the fact that they're black. And okay, I know he's going to bring up whiteness in a moment here, but I might as well just play that now and then respond to that. So we'll get onto that just now.
What do you have in common with a black from the Caribbean or a black from West Africa or East Africa or South Africa? Nothing. What do I have in common?
Actually, yeah, maybe just to respond to that real quick. What do blacks from America have in common with a black person from the Caribbean? I might have already answered this just now, but again, with the whole George Floyd thing. But again, if something were to happen to like a black Caribbean, an American black were to be in the area or anything like that at all, then yeah, well, he would be concerned of what happened to the well-being of that black Caribbean because he's another black person. Race is very fucking real.
Another black other than color. Nothing. What do you have in common with a black from the Caribbean or a black from West Africa or East Africa or South Africa? Nothing. What do I have in common with a white from Poland? No knock on Poland, obviously. In fact, I'm headed there. I enjoy Poland a great deal, but we speak different languages. They're mostly Catholic. I'm a Jew. They're East European. I'm the Western, a product of Western European culture. I mean, do I have anything in common with an American leftist who's American and white? Nothing.
Right, but again, like racial identity is, of course, very real. I want to also make a point about when it comes to, say, like white people, for instance, right? See, for example, here in the UK, now we have the four tribes: the Scottish, the English, the Welsh, and the Irish. Now, from my experience, especially being like a full-blown nationalist at this point, in fact, this could be part of my own personal experience at the PA summer camp. It's not anything like bad or anything like that at all. Don't worry about that. What I have noticed as of late when it comes to being at the PA summer camp, or maybe even some of these conferences, is that I tend to be more affiliated and more associated with my own kin, the Scottish. Now, that's not to knock anyone, the English or the Welsh or anything like that at all. As a matter of fact, I tend to get along with them very well. What I have noticed is I would much feel more at home if I were to be with my own kin. Again, not to knock off the English or anyone I've met at the camp or spoken to at the camp or any of the conferences for that matter. Again, they're great. They're perfectly great people. Again, it's natural to be with your own kin in regard to that. So, yeah, as I said, there may be some subtle differences between an Englishman and a Scotsman, or a Scotsman and a Welshman, or a Welshman and an Irishman, or a Scotsman and an Irishman, or anything like that at all. But the one commonality that you could say between the four tribes, being all from the UK, is the one commonality is, of course, is race, or in this case, we're white. So, as much as I'm a proud Scotsman, and I don't want Scotland to be a white minority country, I would want my country to be a white majority country. I would want other British countries like England, Wales, and Ireland, I don't want them to be a white minority country either. Now, as a Scottish nationalist myself, or an ethno-nationalist, whatever you want to say, as much as I care more about the Scottish people, because again, they are my own people, I don't want to see any harm done or any. I don't want the English or the Welsh or the Irish to be replaced either. You know, like, because again, there's maybe subtle differences, but there's also some commonality as well. And of course, one of the commonalities would be, of course, to do with race. Now, I want to turn around and ask Dennis one particular question as like a maybe point the question back at him. So, what would be the commonality between Jewish people? See, what would be a commonality between a Jewish person from America and a Jewish person living in Israel? Uh, would you agree that there's entirely no differences, no any similarities whatsoever? I have a feeling that I have a sneaking suspicion that, well, actually, a Jew from America and a Jew from Israel are very similar. In fact, I guarantee he would make that point. But when it comes to like similarities between the other races, oh no, well, that's entirely different. Especially if you're white, you can't identify with another white person based on race. You know, again, that sounds like Nazism and all of that. I mean, just again, race is in fact real, and it does play a well, it's not the main factor, but it is a major factor in part of identity politics, because again, it's all to do with that. So I really hope I'm coming off clear with making these points, because I don't know if they're like sound arguments to make, but again, that's just based on what I'm saying when it comes to that, my own personal opinion on that. And I also want to make sure if the let me just go back to the chat real quick. Sorry, folks, one second, and then I'll go back onto what I've said just now with that. When you watch IRL, a tug of war with the Scots versus English, you suddenly find your tribal roots. I scream like a banshee. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm actually glad you brought that up, because again, that does tie into that, doesn't it? So again, I'll make this point real quick and then go back on to responding to Dennis Prager. But at the summer camp this year, with the PA summer camp, we had a little short competition, like a tug of war competition between some of the regional groups like Scotland and Yorkshire, Eastern, Northeast, Northwest, so on and so forth. And I think Wales did take part of it as well. But again, it was just like a little fun competition we did. And then there was one competition we also had, which was between Scotland and England. Again, it's all just a bit of like fun and banter. It wasn't anything too serious with that. What I have noticed when participating with that, with my team being Scotland and going against the English team, is now the majority of the people at that camp were English, and they were rooting for the English team because, and as Aunt Sally, again, she might be maybe like joking or anything with that at all, but she does make a very good point within the chat, is that because she's English, she's going to support the English team because again, they are her own people, and it's natural to be with. Again, it's all part of that kingship. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier on about being at the PA summer camp, or even at the accommodations for the PA conferences, I would normally hang around with my kin, the Scottish, but I would also speak to again some of the Scottish members. Sorry, not Scottish. Sorry, some of the English members from PA, some of the Welsh members from PA. Am I infatuated? I don't know if I met an Irish person from PA, maybe Irish Rose, maybe one time, maybe just briefly, or maybe did I spoke to Paul Stevenson one time at the conference, but and of course because the English are just better. English Rose, behave yourself. But no, again, it's natural. I would speak to them, and of course, I would be cordial, be friendly with them, and of course, as I said, they're good people, decently good people. At the same time, I would feel more at home with being with my own kin. And again, it's natural to be with your kin. It's part of that whole human nature, or that whole tribalism aspect of it all. It's just natural to be with like that. Now I'm back here because I want to check to see if the connection is. No, English Rose, you're not fired. Don't worry, it's fine. I actually embarrassed myself screaming for the English in that tug of war. I mean, there's nothing to be embarrassed about, Aunt Sally. Again, it's just natural. So, but anyway, Chief Moody, why didn't you speak with the Nigerians there? There were no Nigerians as far as I'm concerned, but or maybe I don't know if there was someone who might have identified as a Nigerian, because again, we live in a complete clown world. But anyway, so but yeah, it's There were no Nigerians. I'll say that much from my experience. There were no any Nigerians whatsoever. Ask him if he feels commonality with Whoopi Goldbergstein and Kanye West. Yeah, that actually would be a pretty good point, actually, because going back to what Dennis Prager was saying just now, that again, what's it called? Actually, that actually would be a pretty good question. Well, okay, you would say that. So I would ask him, is Kanye West Jewish? Is Whoopi Goldberg Jewish? And I think that might actually defeat his entire whole argument with that. But anyway, that's actually a pretty good point. Who was it this asked who said that in the chat? Wait a minute, what's his name? Dozastic Draco or Draco was called. So again, very good point, very sound point to make. So yeah, I would definitely maybe ask him something similar to that. So yeah, good point. Right then, what time is it? Right, 6:35. Let's see if we can finish off with this response to Dennis Prager. Nigeria's tug of war team competition was cancelled when they god damn a streaky bacon. They were filming the tug of war for the PH site and I ruined it with screaming Ingram. Oh, and Sally. Oh dear. Anglos were invited. The Saxons on the other hand. Fair enough. I'm glad I'm English. That's fair enough, Martin. Of course. It's good to hear that you're glad that you're English, so of course. Right, anyway, let's get back on to responding to Dennis Prager. And I think this might be coming close to this part of this entire point here, but we'll just get back onto this right now. So anyway, 3, 2, 1.
We have nothing in common. We see the world completely differently. Our moral differences are unbridgeable. The notion that you have something in common with another person because you have their color is sick and a lie. You might not, but it's not an issue of color. This is what's being taught in Burbank, California in schools.
So I would imagine, Dennis, that you would agree with the idea that Kanye West, again, being Jewish, or Whoopi Goldberg being Jewish because of the last name, you would agree with that idea, right? Because again, I mean, there's really no commonalities between the races or anything like that at all. I mean, in this case, anyone can be Jewish, anyone can be Black, anyone can be Asian or anything like that at all. I mean, I would imagine you'd be the same person when it comes to white countries, especially here in Europe or even in Britain, that anyone can be British for that instance, right? And so at that point, can anyone be Jewish? Or is Jewish, again, just like any other racial group, a distinct group of people that should not be tarnished or anything like that at all? Again, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Really makes you think that you would make these points regarding to that. So, and I think I also want to make a point about this real quick about in terms of what's being promoted or what's being indoctrinated to children, especially in going on in the school institution or any other institution for that matter. This idea of the anti-whiteism that we're facing today. Let's all just be brutally honest here. Who are the ones who are behind the promotion of anti-whiteism? Who are the ones who are promoting that? I mean, I don't want to come off as an anti-Semite, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all know for a fact that people like Dennis Prager, or at least his own kin, are part of the promotion or the celebration, whatever you want to call it, of anti-whiteism. So again, just maybe a bit of food for thought there, a bit of food for thought, of course.
Right. Obviously, it makes me angry. Well, you're looking at them through a skewed lens. If you only see the person and not the color, it's a skewed lens. It's not a skewed lens if you see their color first. What else here?
So I just want to also make a point real quick regarding to like looking through things with a skewed lens or like a small lens, whatever the case may be with that. So when you're making fun of, say, like leftists or like Antifa or anything like that at all, is that not, again, not that I'm supporting them or anything like that at all, I'm just trying to make a point here. Is that not you making skewed lens for those groups of people or anything like that at all? Because again, you can make the same argument when it comes to like ideology or not just race, but you could pinpoint a group of people who believe in a certain ideology, and then, well, you would think of that person in a certain way because they believe in this ideology. Is that not looking through someone in that type of lens? Because, you know, you can make a similar argument to that. But anyway, so. But just to mention that, of course, race is definitely real. So whether he agrees with it or not, whether he likes it or not, race is real. Identity politics is ingrained in our subconscious, which is kind of funny because when it comes to Jews or Judaism or anything like that at all, I would imagine to Dennis, it would be a complete 180 because, again, we just hear him earlier on that he views himself as Dennis, but he still agrees that his Jewishness is in fact important to him. Which, why would that be the case if you're arguing the fact that race is if he even says that there is not deep as superficial and all of this and that, then why is your Jewishness very important to you then? You know, but again, it kind of comes off as rules for thee but not for me type of thing. But anyway.
The dominant culture is the group of people in society who hold the most power and are often, but not always, in the majority. In the US and the UK, people who are white, middle class, Christian, and cisgender are the dominant culture. They are in charge of the institutions and have established behaviors, values, and traditions that are considered acceptable and the norm in our countries. Okay, that's true. So the only question is, are they good norms or bad norms? That's the only question. By the way, it says Christian. I'm Jewish. I'm perfectly at peace with Christians being in the dominant culture in America.
But they're not, though, are they? See, that's the funny thing when it comes to that part there, how it's claiming that, well, especially like white countries like here in Britain or even in all parts of all across Europe or even in America for that matter, the native population of these countries are not, in fact, the dominant population of the countries in terms of these institutions like the media, the news publications, the banks, you know, all this and that. It seems, funny enough, as I mentioned before, it seems to be another group of people that are mainly the major majority and kind of pulling the strings altogether regarding to those institutions. I wonder who those people would be, I wonder, because I'll tell you something right now. It's certainly not white people that are the major majority, or at least the dominant, what was I going to say, the dominant natives within the country. They should be, but they're not. In fact, it's actually been manhandled or controlled by another group of people, and also again promoting what we're seeing today with these institutions, especially in the education system. A very specific particular group of people. They wear small hats and they have like big noses, and they can be very elfish type of people. I think they're from the North Pole or something like that. But anyway, we'll just move on from there with that.
They made the best country Jews have ever lived in. And I know Jewish history real well. I've taught Jewish history on the college level. I wrote a book on anti-Semitism. I know this stuff pretty well.
I wonder what would be his history when it comes to Israel, because I would tell him right now that Israel is basically, dare I say, stolen land from the Palestinians. But I mean, that's, but really beside the point. But it really makes you think, doesn't it? It really makes you think regarding to that. But another piece of history when it comes to that. So I would imagine he would talk about the discrimination of the Jewish people throughout the years. I would imagine he would maybe even bring up the fact that Jews were banned from entering or living in 109 countries, which he'll probably say parts about that. I don't know if this may be the case will be, but again, based on what I've read up about what I know, he will talk about the discrimination of the Jews being banned in 109 countries. But then, of course, you would turn around and ask him, well, why was that? It can't just be the case of like, well, because they're Jewish. There has to be a fucking reason. You can't just bar someone from entering a pub or just because for the hell of it. There has to be a legitimate reason as to why you ban that person from entering this establishment. And in this case, there has to be a legitimate reason as to why you ban or at least these countries in the past banned the Jews from entering or living in these 109 countries. There has to be a reason for it. Has to be a reason for it. And another one final part about that when it comes to Jewish history, I wonder what his take would be when it comes to Holodomor, because after all, looking through the Bolshevik government in Russia during that time, most of those Bolsheviks were in fact Jewish. In fact, I think Vladimir Lenin was Jewish or maybe part Jewish. And Karl Marx, I know his father was Jewish. His grandfather was a rabbi, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, but Moody, you got it wrong. How then in his Communist Manifesto he talks about the Jews or in a negative light? Well, I mean, there's an argument to be made that Karl Marx was making a point about the Jewish people, was that he was trying to win over the white Russians who were going through that turmoil at the time. I mean, again, that might be like my conspiracy theory going on there. But again, I mean, it really makes it does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? For him being Jewish, but him trying to win over the white population so that he could try and subvert everything. Again, it goes back to his father being Jewish and his grandfather being a fucking rabbi. So. And of course, when it comes to Holodomor, I mean, 23 million Eastern Europeans, if I remember, were all killed because of the Jewish Bolsheviks. I wonder what his take would be about that Jewish history. I would imagine he would be the type of person who would think, "Oh no, we can't talk about that. That's anti-Semitism. How dare you?" So it's like, okay, so you're calling it anti-Semitism, but you're not actually calling it a lie or anything like that at all. What you're basically doing just now is you're basically confirming what I've just said, but you're trying to use a term like anti-Semitism to try and shut down the argument. At least that's how I would imagine it would go if there was a conversation between me and Dennis Prager. But anyway, we'll just finish off with this part here, and then we'll see if we can move on to something else, or maybe end the show. I'm not entirely too sure, but we'll see from there. So 3, 2, 1.
You're a pretty damn lucky Jew, my father taught me, if you're a Jew in America.
Oh, is that right?
Even with the dominant, not even with, maybe because of the dominant Christian culture. I love Christmas time. It's not my...
Yeah, again, I'll just maybe finish off that. Yeah, you would be pretty damn lucky if you were a Jew living in America, because like I said, I mean, what we've seen through all these institutions in America, and even, of course, all across Europe, and even what we've seen with the Biden administration, the majority of them are either Jewish or they're Americans, but they're very pro-Israel. Really makes you wonder, doesn't it? And also same with the Republican camp. Again, there's a lot of Jews who are part of it, and there's a lot of people who are very pro-Israel with the Republican Party in America. Which again really makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, there's no such thing as Jewish influence, but we'll support Israel. And of course, look what happened to Kanye West. There's no Jewish influence, but we're going to seize, we're going to stop your bank account. We're going to have you lose all these deals with all these other corporate entities and so on and so forth. We're going to try and demonize you and make you as if you're some fucking crackpot. But just remember, there's no such thing as Jewish influence. But also, Kanye West, you're an anti-Semite. But there's no Jewish influence whatsoever. Anyway.
A religious holiday, but I love Christmas time. I've talked about that on a few occasions. God, are these people superficial? They are so superficial. Their superficiality, their shallowness is actually deep.
Right, so by that logic, why is your Jewishness important to you then? If it's all superficial, why is Jewishness is that important to you? And of course, learning about Jewish history and all of that, and of course, anti-Semitism and all of that, etc., etc. If it's all superficial, why is that important to you then? My theory of it is because rules for thee, but not for thee. Anyway, I think I'll end that segment there. Hopefully, that might be all right and dandy with that in this case here. Very subversive, I feel. It does come off as very subversive indeed, very subversive. Moses Hess was the architect of the Zionist evil, which is the October Revolution in Russia suffered from. Right, indeed, Streaky Bacon. I might have actually maybe seen that before, but yeah. Anyway, he's not white, he's Jewish. Right, exactly. So I hope he's up to date on his booster. Yeah, because I think he did say he was going to Poland or something like that. But yeah, with it, Jewish is not a religion, is a religion, not a race. I mean, I've heard that before, but even then, it's like even but it's like, you know, but they see them. But if it is a religion and not a race, then why is it that they see themselves as a specific group of people, like Jews, for instance? I mean, that's just the point when it comes to that. The Talmud is not the Bible. Right, perfect. Right then, folks, I think come up towards the end of the show, which is 10 to 6. Oh, no, sorry, 10 to 7. I keep getting that mixed up for some reason. But I think with that part, I'm going to end the show just now with that. I know that Mark and maybe Laura might be doing a stream at 7. I'm not entirely too sure if it's going to be both of them. But there's going to be a stream on Mark Collette's channel at 7. I don't know if that was posted in the chat, but there you go. Tune in at 7 p.m. In fact, let me just have a quick look at that. And I think that's going to be on Odysee exclusively, and I don't know if it's going to be streaming on other platforms. 1 minute. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Live streams starting soon. Let me see. That's on Radio Albion. Well, let me see if I can find the original post of that. Mark's Telegram, if I can imagine. Wait a minute. Let me see here. Yep. There's more. So Workers of England Union and Legal Advice, that's starting at 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's just starting in 9 minutes. So that's going to be on Mark's Odysee, Laura's DLive, if you want to watch it there, Radio Albion, and of course, Entropy. If you want to ask Mark any questions. So we'll see. Workers of England Union and Legal Advice with Robin Tilbrook. We present an introduction to the Workers of England Union, the only trade union that provides practical help and legal representation to traditionalists and patriotic political dissidents. The representation will be followed by a Q&A with English solicitor Robin Tilbrook. Don't miss your chance to ask questions to a legal expert. Well, if you want to check that out, then yeah, definitely head on over to either Mark's Odysee, Laura's DLive, or the Radio Albion website, or even Entropy if you want to ask them any questions with that. Be it paid or unpaid questions is entirely up to yourself. And then later on, as I said, John Davidson will be live at, I think it's 8 or 9 o'clock. Let me just have a quick look. And if you guys want to, after the PA stream tonight, you can head on over to John Davis's stream if you guys want to with that. I see Professor Edward Dutton's live at the moment. Again, that's entirely up to yourself if you want to go into that, if you guys want to. And let me see if I can find John Davidson's stream. 1 second here. Sound, receive and sound, YouTube is a little bit different now. It's got like videos and then live kind of thing, but I streamed that 7 hours ago. All right, okay. All right. Well, maybe I might have missed it. Oh no, sorry. Actually, he's got a stream. Right. Yeah, John Davison will be live with the Music Room episode 79. That's going to be live at 9 o'clock tonight. So if you want to check that out, then definitely do so if you want to. And with that being said, folks, that will be the end of tonight's Mood of the Nation. I hope everyone enjoyed tonight's episode. And I'll see you guys on Sunday with episode 122. That will be the episode where it's going to be a Remembrance Day special. Now, I'm not entirely too sure if it's going to be at 5 p.m. as usual on a Sunday, or maybe I'll stream it a bit later on. But I will keep you guys updated with that as well, and then just to let you know what's happening with that. But it will be happening on Sunday. It's not going to be cancelled or anything like that at all. I will be streaming on Sunday, and then with that in this case. So, with that being said, I will have a song as an outro song type of thing when it comes to the episode tonight. Is Tola on? That's right, Tola is on tonight, again being Friday. So yeah, Tola is going to be live at 9 p.m. as usual. He's going to have the Woodlander as a guest tonight, as a scene on Telegram. So you all soon have a good weekend. So you too, St. Harrison. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. So yeah, check that out if you guys want to with that. And yeah, that's going to be the end of tonight's episode. I'm just going to get the banner out for Support Patriotic Alternative. And then end the show with this song here. So thank you all very much for coming along. I'll see you all on Sunday with episode 122, aka the Remembrance Day special. And I'll see you all then. So thank you all. Take care. Stay safe. This is Chief Moody signing out. You have been watching the Mood of the Nation podcast, and I will see you all in the next episode. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you all, and good night. Take care.
You could be my luck. Even in a hurricane of frowns, I know that we'll be safe and sound. We're safe and sound.